Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's a Dog H. Weber with you with another edition of Weber This Week on a Monday, the 17th of September. Hope everybody had a great weekend. It's been a while since I've had my buddies from the town council or the town board here in Seneca Falls. Of course, Greg Lazzaro and Lou Ferrara have been on quite a few times. We haven't had them on for several months. We're here to talk about some town issues, and they're ready to give us some answers. Welcome to Weber This Week. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's the Dog with you, H. Weber, on a 17th of September. Hope you all had a nice weekend. Good to be back with you. And no, I am not going to retire halfway through the show like the Bills guy did yesterday. Jimmy's not going to be worried at 3:50 and I storm out of here with the microphone. That's not going to happen because if I do, I wouldn't get my full check. You imagine that. Before I get to Lou and Greg, that is almost hilarious. I've been telling these guys before I went on the air, I've been watching football for, I guess, since I was 6 maybe, and I'm 73, so 67 years, something like that. I've never heard of that, somebody retiring at halftime. I've never heard that. And you know what's funny about the NFL, so you know, these guys truly, that's only a 1 year to 3 year program because you get banged up and you get your head ripped off, and there's a lot of severe injuries in the NFL. It's not a friendly sport. But they get paid by game checks, so you got to do the full game to get your check. Now, you may be suited up and may not get called in by the coach to play, but at least you're there to play. So he loses his game check. Amazing. So let's get away from the Bills situation. That almost had me laughing. I had to bring that up. But Greg Lazzaro, Lou Ferrara in with me. Guys, thanks for coming in. Always like having you in.
Thanks for having us, Harold.
All right.
Welcome, Harold.
My pleasure. Greg, let's have you comment about something that I talked to you about coming up the elevator, the paving of the streets. I know you did State Street, where, of course, myself and many of us live in that school building next door. I want to give kudos to getting that done. It looks really nice, and it's nothing like a really freshly paved road. And you were telling me that the priority is you look at it at the beginning of the year and determine what you can do, right, as far as streets?
Yes, sir, and that usually comes through the highway superintendent. And he looks at the streets he's done before, and he generally each and every year he gets funds from the state, and he gets some funds from us, and he goes out and he starts looking at the streets when they were last done. Sometimes it depends on the traffic level on them, that he'll do those a little closer to one another each project, but he looks at it and he decides on which streets are going to be done. He comes to the board, and the board approves these projects. And
very good. And that is great. And certainly if your street's on the upcoming, it's great because, again, State Street looks great and it dries so smooth. Another topic I'm going to give to Lou, and that, of course, Lou, I remember watching one of your tapes recently, and was regarding the slumlords, or people that own properties that don't keep up with the properties relative to manicuring the lawns and the garbage out front or in the back or on the side of the house. And that has become rampant. That got to your, issue relative to making a comment and getting the board to determine higher fines. And talk a little bit about what made you do this. I know it's an ongoing issue, and according to what you were saying, it's never gotten any better. It's getting worse in some areas.
Actually, It seems to have been it seems to have gotten a little better on Fall Street. I think Fall Street got the message. Mm-hmm. We got rid of our sanitation department quite a few years ago, and to rent a property out and take the money for the rental, and when the people leave, and then to put your stuff by the road and expect the town municipal workers to pick it up is wrong. Mm-hmm. And you should dispose of it yourself. We have quite a few different ways you can do it on your own. And to pull other people off jobs, blacktopping, water and sewer, maintenance, to have them go pick up mattresses is wrong. Not only that, it sends the wrong message when you come into Seneca Falls. It's the main corridor in the town. And to see mattresses, couches, and chairs in yards that are unkept is not the right message that we want to show. So there was a little bit of a fine that was there. The one we voted on and we worked on as a board was to increase that. We brought that up to $400 minimum. one mattress or one pile of debris may be $400. Well, the next one might be, depending on the load and the weight, it might be significantly more. So I think that a couple of people, we've sent out a few so far that have paid, and I think the message is getting out there loud and clear that we're not going to tolerate it anymore. And the other side of it is, right now, our lawn care, we send people out as the town to mow the grass for you, and that's currently at $125. I think that should be brought up in line with everything else, because you wait for us to mow your grass. In the meantime, you're the neighbor and you have to look at it. But if we charge you, like Auburn does, $400 to mow your grass, you'll hire somebody to do it, and we won't be in that business anymore for long. So hopefully things like that will start to turn around. When you come into Seneca Falls, you'll see it a little bit different, cleaning up these neighborhoods and these homes.
Very well. Greg, we broached a discussion before Lou got here regarding a comment made yesterday in a letter to the editor about IT, and I thought it was, since you were both coming in today, I thought it was resourceful for me to ask to have, I'm sure you must have read it, regarding IT and the fact that the town has somebody overseeing IT at a decent salary, and the letter sort of laid out, why is that being done? Do you guys have the funds to spend a bunch of money on new hardware, software? His name was Tim Garrity. I will throw that on the airwaves. I'm just wondering, did you read the letter, and your thoughts after reading the letter? Was this maybe jumping the horse too fast, or were you just reviewing what you want to do for the town? So you would like comment about that.
Well, Mr. Garrity did write the whole board a letter, and he did write the letter to the newspaper stating that he didn't get any feedback from the board members. He's been at our meetings. He's mentioned some things. I've approached him. I said, why don't you set up a meeting with me? I gave him my card. He's never been down to see me. And getting back to the IT issue specifically, I think he doesn't know a lot about it. He just goes on what he hears. I mean, he does address the issues very intellectually, and he asks some good questions. But in order to really look at the IT department and what we need for upgrades and bringing us into the 21st century, because we were woefully behind, and they were dangers to security, people breaching the system. Those, although you can never say it's never going to happen, some of those possible breaches to security have been eradicated because of our current IT person. I think when you look at the salary of the IT and the benefits of that person, I believe that the contracts, the two previous contracts we had with vendors, and these were contracts that the base contract, one was at about $38,000, and the other one was someone who I inherited, and it was above $38,000. And they would charge you for this person, the first one, would charge you for mileage to Rochester. So in effect, we paid more than $52,000 in IT the first year I was in. We paid more than $38,000 in IT because there was a 10% finder's fee when you needed some equipment and the person ran out. And the reason we went with the single person who worked for the town was because that we felt that there was not enough time spent with the employees. If an employee was having a specific problem with the computer, the person would take a day or two, sometimes 3, to come down and fix the problem, and that person would be out of internet service, couldn't use a computer. And we depend on this as on a daily basis to utilize our computers. We're doing it every day, and if you don't have access to a person who can fix that problem or fix the problems that crop up periodically immediately, you have problems over a day or two period, and that's what we were finding before. And we do need upgrades to our system, and that's what these companies do. We put out an RFP. The board approved putting out the RFP, and now we're going to look at it. That's no guarantee that we'll hire someone. But, the RFPs, I think, Lou, they were due on Saturday at 5 o'clock. They have to be postmarked by Saturday at 5 o'clock. And we're going to be looking at them and opening them over the next few weeks, looking at them, and then making a hard decision on whether we want to go with one of these companies to really upgrade our system.
Okay, well said. Wouldn't be a meeting with you and Lou unless we talked about a little briefly about Seneca Metals. I see that's been in the news. Kyle Black has made presentations regarding odor issues having been decreased with his charts, et cetera, et cetera. I know you're weighing over, the board is weighing over the permit process, whether to renew or not. Could you just, between you and Lou, give us an update relative to, in your minds, have the issues gone down? I haven't seen a lot of fury that I did see at one time. Could you just, one of you comment about where you are with that?
Well, we're still talking to people at Seneca Metals. Hopefully we can come with an agreement that's going to be a better modified host agreement, better for us, better for Seneca Metals. And however, there's this one group in our town, Seneca Falls Environmental Activist Committee, and they're taking a stand that you, and their saying is, because when I was running for election, I said negotiate, don't litigate. They're saying litigate, don't negotiate. And I think that's the wrong thing to do when you have a business in town. Who has been a partner with the town in the growth that we've seen, especially this year when and it was a mistake not to use the money we got from the landfill to reduce taxes, to keep taxes at a low level. But what we did with that is, because the money we get from Seneca Metals, we used a lot of that for a very aggressive infrastructure approach this year. And I'm really proud of that infrastructure repair we've had. But in order to keep that going, you need a partnership with a business that can contribute to Seneca Falls. And I believe over the years, in 20 years, Seneca Metals had given us, just by the host agreement checks, $47 million. And we've used that to grow programs, to keep taxes down, to do some infrastructure repair. This year we've done some more. So why not have that private-public partnership with an industry, with a business that wants to have that private-public partnership? And in the end, Seneca Metals is part of the statewide waste management plan, and the people who can close that, the DEC, the health department, or on a federal level, the EPA, they regulate it, and they watch very closely on the business they do up there. And so far, they have no problems with the way Seneca Metals runs its day-to-day operations. So why it would be ridiculous for me to say, or our board to say, no to the money. My father, he used to tell me, someone offers you money, take it. And money doesn't grow on trees. Well, we have this unique relationship with Seneca Metals, and I think it needs to be maintained.
Very well. Lou, do you have any added comments to that?
It's pretty much the same feeling. I mean, it's a business in Seneca Falls, and I do hear people, and I understand what they're saying. And on the other side of the coin, it is a business, and I understand they're operating as per the laws of the land that tell them how they should operate. And I mean, it does smell. Way back when they set up the agreement with the town, it wasn't done with us. Was it the right one, that we take money to compensate for the dust, the dirt, the trucks, the smell? In hindsight, maybe it wasn't. But the fact of the matter remains, we did take the money. We have been taking the money, and the money's out there. If we stop the money tomorrow, or if they stop the money tomorrow, unfortunately, that landfill will still be there. And one of the options they have, I believe, is to stop the money at any time and put it aside in an escrow and proceed with lawsuits against the town of Seneca Falls. And I don't think we're in a position to take on a business. And the size of that, I think we would be financially enough to do that. Wouldn't be the best avenue to go. I think we should let this, see what we're going to do, how we're going to handle the money, get a firm plan on when they are going to close, and move on from there.
Okay. Well, it's 15 minutes after the hour. Lou Ferrara along with Greg Lazzaro joining me. We're going to talk about some other issues. We'll get Greg to comment. I see he brought a couple of sheets of paper. I'm sure he wants to talk about some other things besides all my questions. We're going to get to that. We may go a few minutes late today. This is Weber This Week. We'll check you out in a minute. Del Lago Resort and Casino has something for everyone. 2,000 slot machines and 99 gaming tables. The Vine, featuring top national music and comedy acts. The dining options. The Great Portico by Fabio Viviani. The Farmers Market Buffet, the Social Cafe and Bar. And the 14,000 square foot European style spa. Del Lago offers massages, body treatments, and facials, plus a full-service salon. Visit DelLagoResort.com for more information.
Cayuga Lake National Bank. Visit Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor on Britt Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. The Gold Hotel welcomes you to come out and enjoy the revitalization of this historic downtown Seneca Falls landmark. Every Wednesday is Ladies' Night with special price drinks and half-priced appetizers. Learn more at thegouldhotel.com. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at omentheater.com. Located off New York State Thruway Exit 41, the McGee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country, fresh, home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and check out their menu at McGeeDiner.com. The Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes is a child-friendly location where allegations of physical or sexual abuse are responded to by a multidisciplinary team of professionals. The team works together to conduct a thorough investigation and to provide necessary support services to children and their non-offending caregivers with a goal of minimizing further trauma to a child. Seneca Metals is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. And the Newark Pilots of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at NewarkPilots.com. And the Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Lou Ferrara and Greg Lazzaro from the Town Board of Seneca Falls joining me today on the Weber Show. We'll get back to them in just a second. Speaking of Seneca Metals, they put on some great programs, and they have one coming up this coming Saturday, Ornamental Grass Arrangements. Harvest an armful of ornamental grasses from their wetlands preserve, then make them into a festive fall bouquet that will make your home look like it belongs in Better Homes and Gardens. That's coming up this coming Saturday, September 22nd at 10 to 11 a.m. in the morning, obviously. Seneca Metals, Wetlands Preserve, Blackbrook Road. It's $5 per person. Again, they have a lot of programs out there, and since they're a great sponsor of my show, we always want to give them a tip of the cap and make sure that everyone out there checks them out and likes to go to those events. So we're back with Greg and Lou. Before we go back to Greg about some of the issues he may have wanted to discuss, Lou, and that, of course, we talked briefly about it before on-air time, and, of course, The famous Koch building, of course, something that we all realize James Cars has now moved out near the casino. We wish them the best of luck. But there stands this huge building. I know our friend Peter Koch owns it. And Lou, have you start off first. Our options are limited to a degree. It is certainly an eyesore. We all recognize that. We wonder if it's going to be an eyesore 20 years from now. What can you add to right now relative to the various options that may come into play here?
The options, the way I see it, and I've been trying to stay out of it because it is in front of the Historical Preservation Committee and attorneys are involved in it. Just as a local resident like you and Jim, we are all familiar with it. The buildings, it needs to come down. There's no two ways about it. Building inspections have been done. The ornate parts on the top of the building that were there when they built it are gone. They've taken on rain for years. If you're sitting on the Veterans Bridge and you look to the right, you can see a tree growing in the basement up through the floor in the window. It's long since missed its window of any historical, to me, value or look at all. To have somebody step up and want to put a business there that would provide a much-needed boost in the town, because we do have people that are trying to get businesses located in Seneca Falls, we should be welcoming them, because there is the chance, I believe, that you'll wind up with 3 vacant properties. Nice and Easy 1, Koch's, and Nice and Easy 2. And you have somebody that's willing to step up, take the building down, do the environmental studies, and do everything about that. And I think they should be allowed to move forward and do that. I think along those lines, I've seen it before, and put a bronze plaque out front with a picture on it, with a historical number, and they can have a picture of it. They can go to the museum and say this is what it looked like. There's no preserving it. The inside is not sound. They'd never get a certificate of occupancy. The construction cost alone to bring that back, nobody has ever made an offer I know of on that building. No one. And they talk about historical significance. I mean, if you go down Fall Street, you'll see properties on Fall Street that I remember. One of them was a penny candy store. And it was a beautiful little store. And it's since the historical significance of that store has been lost to landlord. The landlords have turned it into pretty much nothing that resembles anything from when Eva's owned it, a penny store, candy store, to what it is now. And there's many of those around town that the Historical Commission should have, I think, maybe sent a letter out and spoke on, and to try and bring those back. But we had a chance to get Kinney Drugs across the street from Nice and Easy, and for whatever reason that fell through, and we lost that. That stayed in the town of Seneca Falls, but we lost any tax revenue for the school district from it as soon as they crossed that line by the machine shop. So it's sad. I mean, we need to really look at this one very, very well before we let it go.
What's sad is it's such a huge structure. Well, that's the argument I've always had, and not that it's, I mean, it's colossal in size. And again, being a Seneca Falls guy and driving, I was telling these guys 10, 15 times, sometimes a day, and I look at that building and there's white paper all over the windows. I just, all due respect to Peter, I know way back when it was okay, but now I don't know what they're going to do, and it just saddens me being a resident, and I know my view is not shared by others, that something needs to happen, and certainly out of my hands, but let's hope down the road something does happen to, I hate to say it, but tear it down and let's get it cleaned up.
When you look at the cost that would be involved in just demoing that and removing all them tons and tons of brick, and then doing the environmental study, and then digging up the ground to landfill that just to get it up to speed to where you could build, the price is astronomical. So if you do have somebody that's interested in doing it, I think you should really look at it. You should really look at it.
Well, Greg, you had some notes that we've talked many topics here, and it's 25 after. We're going to go a few minutes late, obviously, if we have to, but you want to talk about some things that maybe I haven't discussed with you?
Yes, I will in a second.
Okay.
I want to jump into what Lou talked about in the Koch building. We have 3 boards, zoning, planning, and HPC, Historic Preservation Committee, and two of the boards seem to be ready to get into a mode of being shovel-ready, fast-tracking projects, if they can be fast-tracked. Some can't. Some you have to do more additional studies. But I think we have a good number of people on the board who, Lou and I, have been part of the boards who have appointed these new people who are forward-thinking and thinking about economic development. Now, going to the Historical Preservation Committee, there seems to be more of a tilt on we have to keep everything historic in this town, whether it's cost prohibitive or not. And even an architect came to one of our meetings and said, again, it would cost well over $1 million to simply rehab the building. And it's not an historical building anymore because of how they've taken the roof off, they've taken the ornaments off the building, so it's not an historical building anymore. And at that meeting, it said no one has come to Peter to offer him anything except for Circle K, and they have a nice project. And that store today gets a lot of business from the community, and they're taxpayers in the community. But since then, I've heard from two people who said, I approached Peter on the building, but I don't have the money I wanted for Peter to bankroll us.
Mm-hmm.
Peter bankroll us. And Mr. Koch, he says he's ready to retire. He doesn't want to get into these projects. He's given so much to Seneca Falls. Now he has this chance of selling the building, them demoing it, and building a business there. I say, let the business be built. We sort of shortchange ourselves when it comes to those issues, like the Kenny Drugstore, the Peter Koch project now, if you want to call it that, but selling that building and opening up a new store. And I think with all these issues of historic preservation that we want to stop economic development, and then those same people seem to be the ones who are saying we don't need Seneca Meadows anymore. Where are we going to get the revenue to run the town if we don't look forward? We don't look forward to the future. And that's a paradigm difference that I really and truly have with the other side.
Well, time will tell. Listen, you have another topic or something you want to cover before we get off the air?
I just want to say
Sure.
that there's been a number of issues of how we spend the money. And people say, you never tell us how you spend the money. Mr. Ferrara has the same discussion with me. He says, we do this all the time. At every meeting, we talk resolution, where the money's coming from, where the money's going, how's it going to be spent, do we need any more money? And just some of the ways we've used the money this year is, or targeted to be used, is Center Street Water Project. That block has needed repairs for many years, 15, 20 years. In fact, the former mayor who came to our meeting one day said, shame on me for not doing infrastructure repair. I'm not looking at the past, at people not doing it. I'm looking at it today and in the future. In order to get economic development in here, we have to do the needed infrastructure repair. Hopefully, if we continue to get monies from Seneca Meadows, that's going to help. We also recently passed a $3 million bond issue, which the first $700,000 plus of it is free money. We also are starting the Safe Routes to School program, which is targeted at $719,000. And we're going to get approximately $500,000 of that back because we have to show a 20% match. So we're going to get this money back. So we have been finding ways, for useful ways of using our money and getting grants and getting some of that returned to us. So I think we're doing our job. We're also looking at windows at the community center. You know, that building's been there a long time, I think 20 years now, if I'm correct. And, you know, when a building is being used that much and that hard, because people play basketball, people go in there to work out, they run around the building, it's going to take, it needs to be repaired on a schedule, and now some of those cracks are showing and we need to fix it. So all this money is being utilized. We make motions each month on how to utilize the money, and I think we use it well. And I for one, am very proud of our aggressive infrastructure repair program this year. And we really have to look at the holding tank now, which leaks, and the DEC says we have to fix that. We have to fix that, and and he was talking about the infiltration of sanitary sewer systems. When we have a heavy rain here, the water that goes down those pipes goes from 3 million gallons to 10 to 12 million gallons, and that's a lot of water going down there that we have to treat, that we shouldn't have to treat, because it shouldn't be infiltrating into that sewer system.
Lou, you want to add something?
Yeah, just to add to what Greg said about the Center Street project. The hydrant report on that street is null. There's no fire hydrant. The pressure out of that hydrant and those lines from 4-inch, if they're down to 1.5 inches, 2, is probably saying a lot. The pipes are just well beyond their lifespan. You cannot get pressure out of them, and if there is ever an emergency down there that they needed hydrant pressure, they don't have a hydrant. The other side of it is, as far as the highway program, I want to slow that down a little bit. I think that before we start, I tried to do it this year, and I ran out of time, but I want to sit down with the board, and I want to sit down with our department head, water and sewer and highway, and I want to look at the pipes under the ground. I want to see what that street is like. If that street is in, we don't know right now. We know a lot of them, but I want to go more proactive on them. I want to repair that infrastructure and then put a nice top coat on it, and now you've got a beautiful road on top and underneath. And we move on from there instead of putting it down, and then you see us out there in 2 weeks digging it up because a pipe broke. To me, that on a construction side, that's terrible. That's not. We have an engineering firm, and they can identify which ones need it, and we'll work together, fix the infrastructure, put the blacktop down with curbs. I want to see curbs, and move on. Right now, in places, our curbs are 1.5 inches, 2 inches. They were full curbs. Curbs are there for a reason, to direct the storm water into the storm sewers, to keep people off your yard in the town right away. We need this stuff. It needs to come back. So that was just my take on what Greg said.
Well, guys, we've passed our closing time. I do appreciate, and we're going to have you back by the end of the year. How about that for a final report for 2018? We'll get you come back if that will fit your schedule. We'll work on dates down the road. Again, Greg and Lou, I appreciate you coming in, talking about some of the issues that you're facing, that we all facing as a town resident, and I do appreciate you carving time to come on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harold.
My pleasure. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, our guest for next week is a young lady I'm sure is well known throughout the area, Joelle Murney Karsten, who is her title at Del Lago, since I work out there part-time, I've known Joelle, I used to hang out with her dad all the time, is a community outreach coordinator. And of course, what does that mean? It means that Del Lago, you know, a lot of people enjoy the casino atmosphere and going to shows, et cetera, and a lot of people were opposed to it for whatever reason. But anytime there's an issue, just like the Lodi Point issue, who was out there? Del Lago, giving water and food and all that stuff. So they do an awful lot for the area. And I know Lou and Greg would agree with me. They really step up when it's time to help people in need. And Joelle Murney Karsten is involved with her committee to determine when they swing in action. And she'll be here to talk about all that they have done and all they're going to do in the future to help the area out, regardless of what the situation may be. So Joelle Murney Karsten will be my guest next week on The Weber Show. Speaking for my buddies, Greg Lazzaro, along with Lou Ferrara and Jim Senecrobi, the dog, saying, have a great week, everybody.